the coin here, and today I decided to make another YouTube video. It has been a while since I have done that. So some followers on Twitter were actually asking uh, to get some information about Craig Wright and the economic system, because I tweet a lot about the economic system. Like you can see in here, the economic system, the utility part of it, and yeah, the bottom line is that everything that I have been learning since last June, when I woke up about BSV and the potentiality of BSV, since all of that FUD started on Binance and then spilled on to other exchanges. There was movement going on. There was a madness in the crypto space back then that only can be talked of when Bitcoin and the other altcoins reached all-time high in 2017, and that made me wonder why there is so much FUD. Why do they have to take down Craig Wright and BSV? Because the accusations were that BSV was a shitcoin, and Craig Wright is a fraud. He's not Satoshi, whatever. And the bottom line is, a year hasn't passed yet, but still, we have the lawsuit going on. And yeah, I still believe that Craig Wright is Satoshi. There is still in the realms of probability, there's still a possibility that it could be a fraud. Although, yeah, it's like I said on one of my tweets. I'm a guy that, I'm a guy that likes numbers and facts. That's basically what I'm all about. Like I wrote in here. I don't give a rat's ass about opinions, and I care about research and proven facts and numbers. If facts are proven, I will change my opinion on the subject that matters. So, in this case, in regards of Craig being or not being Satoshi, it's still being in litigation. Lawsuit will resume on the 29th, if I'm not mistaken, by a tweet that I saw. I think it was yesterday or something. Yeah, here it is. So I'm referring to this that someone actually tweeted, and I was just watching it. So document number 384, January 22nd, 2020, paperless order setting a discovery hearing regarding defendants' proposed redactions to the sealed exhibit for the 29th of the 1st in West Palm Beach Division before Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhardt. Counsel shall file a joint notice 48 hours in advance of the hearing setting forth the agreed upon redactions of those still in dispute, signed by Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhardt on 22nd of January 2020 and on the 22nd of January 2020. And then it went on. Util set reset deadlines, hearings, order setting canceling hearing, order paperless or PDF attached, paperless order allowing counsel to appear at the 29th of June 2020 discovery hearing by telephone using the conference call instructions previously provided, signed by Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhardt on the 22nd of the 1st, 2020. And then paperless order directing plaintiffs to submit for in-camera review the portions of the defendant's privilege log where plaintiff's claim to defend improperly asserts the privilege on behalf of a third party, signed by Magistrate Judge Bruce E. Reinhardt. I tweeted about it. I suppose it is kind of the discovery mode, so I believe there will be a conference going on where Craig will have to present the wallets and the keys if he is in possession of these things. There is still doubts about if he has the keys or not. It looks like he has the wallets, but I guess all of this will will fade away once it's all starting in on January 29th, if I understood correctly. I could be wrong on this as well. But so once again, yeah, I'm not talking about the lawsuit itself in regards of the economic system, um, the Bitcoin technology and law and whatever, everything is in here. Like I told in a tweet before, every information is in here. The question is, are you willing to do the work and to try to understand the benefits of BSV? The benefits, the use cases, everything that is coming out, the Genesis upgrade, which will happen on February as well for the quote unquote or dash unlimited block sizes, because of course there is a limit. There is no such thing as unlimited, but of course there will be a limit. So I presume that the cap will be at 1 terabyte. It can be it can go up. It can be much larger than that, but I guess the miners have to decide if if um, if they should rise the block size or not. I don't believe that. I believe that 1 terabyte is actually good for now, but eventually in the future with the use cases and with the businesses that are building on the Bitcoin BSV, yeah, eventually they will have to rise the block size. But for now, after the Genesis upgrade, the one terabyte block size will be enough for now, I believe. So they will figure it out. The miners will figure it out, or raise the limit as it is needed for use case. So that's what I understand of it. In regards of the set in stone protocol, this will not be the final fork. So there's still some adjustments to be made. Uh, the developer of BSV, which is shaders, he told before that there will be maybe another 2 or 3 upgrades or forks necessary to bring the BSV protocol as close as possible to the original Bitcoin protocol. And like I said, this will not be the final upgrade. There are still some things that need to be removed first. So we can expect about 2 or 3 forks to happen. I don't know when it happens. He only talked about that is still necessary. I don't know if that will happen on February or later down the year. So that's basically what's going on. So like I said, guys, if you want to make some research about Craig Wright and about Bitcoin and about the economic models, the Bitcoin technology which he describes, like Turing complete. There's a video out here. I don't know if I will be able to find it. Craig was actually the first people or the first person that talk about Turing complete in in an interview. Yeah, here it is. All-star panel: Ed Moy, Joseph von Perling, Trace Mayer, Nick Szabo, and Dr. Craig Wright. So basically, I don't think we have the sound. I don't believe you will hear it. But yeah, you just have to watch this video in here. So this guy here that was or still is, I don't know, the one of the Bitcoin core developers, so Craig Wright just started to talk about Bitcoin, about being Turing complete, and the bottom line is the guy didn't have a clue. He shot he I guess he didn't even know what Turing completeness was all about, and so are all the other guys on the panels in here. When Craig actually talked about it, nobody responded. He was actually the only one. We have Trace Mayer in here. Some want to claim that he is Satoshi, but he has no technical knowledge. Maybe this guy has a little bit of it, but you know. So basically, when Craig Wright actually starts to talk about Turing completeness, they just I don't know, maybe they didn't understand, and I believe that's the case. They didn't understand what Craig was actually talking about back then, and we have to realize this is a video from 2015. I think before Craig Wright I actually started to claim that he is Satoshi. So the bottom line is back then, and he knew back then what Bitcoin was all about, because after that he's starting to make a lot of speeches in regards of Bitcoin and the technology that it was inherent. And it's like I said, these people, they didn't have a fucking clue what Craig was actually talking about, and that's one of the reasons why I believe that Craig is a Toshi, because he has knowledge that previously to him, at least that I know, I have researched a lot. I can't say that I researched it all, but the reality is he hints about stuff that people didn't even realize back then. Like there was the guy that is responsible for the money button. He has been launching some YouTube videos as well, and he talked about it. Not even he didn't understand or know about Turing completeness, about uh, that Craig Wright actually brought out, and only later he started to realize what Turing completeness is all about. I'm not a very technical guy, but what I understand of it is Turing completeness in Bitcoin um, is that it's the thing that actually allows for Bitcoin to make transactions. It's kind of something that is programmed into Bitcoin, and that is always in a loop. So that means that within this loop, you can make the transactions, you can make the transactions in data, and I believe that Turing completeness is actually the program, or something that is programmed in Bitcoin, that actually allows uh, for Bitcoin to do all these things. Transmit data, send money, receive money, to allow smart contracts and everything that is inherent about the protocol itself. But I'm not going on a fringe in here because I might be messing up in my speech, so I don't want to go too far in it. It's at least the understanding of Bitcoin and the importance of Turing completeness, because the reality is it looks like Ethereum doesn't have Turing completeness. And if that is the case, um, if they're not having Turing completeness, they will not be able to do the upgrade that is necessary, because they will have to figure something else out. The, the the protocol, basically what I'm saying is that a protocol, or the things that allow for Bitcoin to scale, that is inherent in the protocol, is not inherent in Ethereum, because Ethereum is a more complex protocol system. And as far as I understand it, because it's very deviated from the Bitcoin protocol, they have to come out with another solution in that regards, and that's why they're delaying, because they don't, as far as I understand it, they still don't know what to do in regards of making it scale. They have a couple of solutions. If they work or not is doubtful, but that's just the reality of it. And in regards of, I just want to make another hint, because I know a couple of developers, that are building products and services into Bitcoin SV. I'm not going to name them. At the time, you will understand as they come out publicly. The reality is that this this developer that I'm talking about, before coming to BSV, he actually wanted to implement it in Ethereum, but then he realized that he couldn't. And after he tried to implement the the service on Ethereum, he realized that he could not do it. And then he tried EOS, and then what he figured out is, that's at least from his quote, it's words of his own. He said that Ethereum and EOS are just prototypes. So what I understand with all that, yeah, they have an idea, but they don't work correctly. They're not far enough. They're not. They can't be used yet. You know, there is something there, but like I said, maybe they're still. Well, once again, they lack the scalability, because that's the problem with all of them. That's why CryptoKitties failed on Ethereum blockchain, because basically the blocks are full and they can't handle the the CryptoKitties. And the bottom line is, if these people actually decided to build the CryptoKitties on BSV, as of right now, even right now, that BSV is capped at around what is it, 2 gigabytes, I believe, by the miners at the moment. I believe the BSV could actually take care of that already. But the problem is that it can't work on Ethereum, because once again the blocks are full. They can't scale the blockchain yet. Probably probably will not be able to do it. Although they have some ideas, I already heard about a couple of them. I don't understand them. That's why I don't want me even to get into there. But it's highly theoretical. That's basically what it's all about. They might work, they might work or not in the blockchain according to the program or the protocol implemented. But if it works then in the real life, because basically they changed, or they're about to change the proof of work concept and change it to proof of stake. So once again, I'm not trying to implement FUD in here. All I know is the facts is that they have a scaling problem. They're not there yet, and according to the opinion of that developer that is actually building a service on BSV, if it's if it's just a prototype, well, then they have a lot of development going on, because I hear a lot of FUD in regards of BSV. But one thing you can be sure of: BSV is not a prototype, because I'm talking about this developer, and this developer he has his product made in the BSV blockchain, and it works with smart contracts, with a lot of things that Bitcoin Bitcoin actually provides in the MetaNet, the tools that the MetaNet provides, and everything else. So what I'm telling you is that the platform works. It's working. It couldn't work on EOS or Ethereum because of the scalability problem, because that is just the reality of things. Like I said, I do not want to get into detail to to who or what I'm talking about, because it's not that it is any secret. But you will understand, and you will realize when his product comes online, maybe February, March, I believe. um, it will come out, and people will understand what it's about and what is going on. And that's basically what I wanted to let you guys. I'm showing you here. It's it's an hour and 15 about that all-star panel. I believe that the clip that was showing Craig Wright talking about Turing completeness is about maybe 30 minutes or less, because I haven't seen that full version in here. I only saw a clip or a video about 15 to 30 minutes, where the video was only focused on Craig Wright talking about the Turing completeness. But yeah, that's what I want to make everyone aware about Craig Satoshi, is that many people call him a lunatic, many people call him a fraud, which there is still a possibility that it could be. But the reality is, I don't believe that I know or heard about anyone talking about Bitcoin and the capabilities and everything that is inherited in the protocol and the program. This is one, yeah. This is the guy. This is Ray X Charles. Charles, he created money button for us in the BSV in the BSV blockchain. So he talked about the Turing completeness as well. There is actually another speech where Ryan actually made a speech in public as well, and he talked about it in depth about the Bitcoin Turing completeness, because what many people may not understand is that Turing completeness is what makes the difference in Bitcoin and blockchain. Because without Turing completeness, Bitcoin couldn't be doing what it has been doing since it was concepted. It couldn't be transmit transactions, data, and money, or whatever you want to call it. It couldn't do that. It couldn't enable smart contracts, which BTC never implemented, because the developers never, they never wanted to go that route. That's why Ethereum actually was created, because Vitalik was actually wanted to create the Ethereum protocol on Bitcoin, on BTC. But the problem is that he was afraid that someone could actually change the protocol, and that's actually the irony of all this, because he was afraid that someone could change the protocol and change the rules. And what happened is, yeah, he created Ethereum. It wasn't it was developed on ETC Ethereum, which is called now Ethereum Classic. But then after that, there was a bug, and many people actually had their funds locked. So because of that reason, they had to fork from Ethereum Classic to Ethereum, so that these people that actually got their money locked out could recover it. And that is the ironic part of it. So he wanted to build Ethereum independently because of being afraid that someone could change the protocol, and because of the mess up, because there was a bug in the protocol itself that locked out people from smart contracts, as far as I understand it. So basically, they had to make a fork and change the rules. That's basically what happened. There is no way around of sugarcoating it, but that's what happened. So that's the irony of it. He wanted to build on BTC, but he was afraid that someone could change the protocol. But as he started the protocol by himself, he had to basically do the same thing that he was actually against, because there was a bug, and there was no way of getting these funds that were locked out because of that bug. So that's the irony of all this thing. But the reality is that, yeah, the Bitcoin Core guys, they messed everything up. They took all the capabilities that of Bitcoin that had. They never implemented the smart contracts, because they also removed the upcodes, because the upcodes are the thing that actually enables smart contracts and tokens to be programmed and distributed on the blockchain. So they took that ability from it. They implemented SegWit. They removed ZeroConf, and they have some other technicalities which don't come to my mind at the moment. But yeah, they removed a lot of things about Bitcoin that was implemented in the original protocol. And because of that reason, unfortunately, BTC is not Bitcoin anymore, because it doesn't obey to the same rules that were applied in the beginning, and Craig Wright or Satoshi uh, said that the protocol was set in stone. So if the protocol was set in stone, the protocol wasn't to be messed around with. You know. And that's the fallacy, because everybody likes to talk. Everybody likes to say that BSV is a scam, that Craig is a scam. But what are the responsibilities of the Bitcoin Core guys, the Blockstream? You know, what are their responsibilities? Because they basically if Craig and BSV is a fraud, so what are the Bitcoin Core guys and Blockstream guys? And that's what I never hear about it. Everybody likes to talk that BSV and Craig is a fraud, is not Satoshi and whatever. But nobody blames these guys for changing the protocol. And even they say in their own words, they tweeted about a lot about it. I haven't been checking them out, but even they don't want to follow Satoshi's rules. They don't want to follow Satoshi's white paper. They all say that Satoshi is irrelevant. But we're still talking about the guy that created Bitcoin, the peer-to-peer, a peer-to-peer, damn it, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. He was the inventor of it. Look, it's here, man. So basically, what Blockstream and now the Satoshi deniers, not that I'm saying that it is because of Craig Wright, but even if we take Craig Wright out of the equation, they are Satoshi deniers because they don't want to follow the white paper. They say he's irrelevant, and the reason why they say he's irrelevant is because he wasn't around when when the changes were made. But wait a minute, but he's responsible for the Bitcoin protocol. He created this thing. So to tell me or anybody else in the space that he's not relevant anymore, because let's face the facts here. If they don't, if they changed the Bitcoin protocol into something that it is not anymore, and they didn't understand it, so these people they took possession of a protocol. They changed it, although they never understood it. So what gives them legitimacy to move and to experiment into something that they don't even understand? Because that is the basic problem. These people that say that are so smart, they can code, they can do this and they can do that, but the bottom line is they don't understand the technicalities or what their purpose is. And the only person that actually knows what the purpose of Bitcoin and the program and the protocol and whatever is inherited in the computer itself, because Bitcoin is a computer system. He knows, Satoshi knows, and he gave instructions for people to do what they needed to do. Of course, then he disappeared, and that's where shit hit the fan. That's when Satoshi disappeared. Satoshi wasn't around to give his opinions about the stuff, and that's where the crap started to happen. Especially in the last 2 to 3 years with the SegWit fork, because the reality is, many people don't want to accept it because it was a soft fork, but it doesn't matter if it is a soft or a hard fork. It's a fork. It's a change. It's a change in the protocol. But like I said, there are many people that don't even understand, even the coders and software engineers and whatever. They don't understand this stuff. I don't either. But the thing is, I do understand what it is going on, because if something wants to, if something like the internet, just take a look at the internet. The internet is a protocol. Everything else, what makes the internet work, is built on top of it. But it's only one internet, you know, and that's what Bitcoin. The idea behind Bitcoin is basically the same, you know, because in the beginning there was only one coin. It was Bitcoin, and then Charlie Lee, you know, in my opinion, he's a scammer, you know, because not because of the case that he cloned Bitcoin and created LTC, and then the rest came along, but the fact that Charlie Lee actually sold LTC at the tops, you know, and he actually told. No, the funny thing about it is he actually told people about it in a tweet that, yeah, LTC is at the top. So basically, he sold at the top. He never bought in, as far as I know. So he doesn't care about the technology, like he doesn't care about Litecoin, because once again, now it's not that it is a problem that Litecoin is going to implement Mimblewimble, because the reality is that Litecoin didn't have any development for about 2 or 3 years as well. So they want to implement Mimblewimble. They want to implement um, what's it called again? They want to implement anonymity. Anonymity. into the Litecoin blockchain. But the problem is that anonymity, doesn't follow the rules or doesn't follow law. It has rules, but it doesn't follow law. Because basically, what every anonymous cryptocurrency creates is for economic crime, because no one can be liable for anything because it's all anonymous. You know, nobody can be blamed. And the bottom line is, what will happen is, yeah, these the money launderers, they will take advantage of any kind of blockchain that is anonymous, because they know that they're not liable for the crimes they're committing or the money that are laundering. You know, I know that many people don't want to listen to this or about this. I used to be in the same camp before I started to understand, and I started to listen to Craig Wright and everything else. Because I was a huge Verge fan, and even in their defense, they still have something. They still have a public ledger. They have a public ledger and they have an anonymous ledger. So as long as they keep the the public ledger, they will not get into problems. Monero, in the other part, yeah, they will not be implemented by any company or service or a merchant, because the bottom line is they will never be able to verify the transaction. They will be able to send money. They know they received money, but when they take a look at the blockchain, there is no amount there. It says that you received something, but you don't know where it came from. You don't know if there is more. You don't know if there is a double spend attack. You don't know nothing. And that's basically why anonymous cryptocurrencies are doomed. Because if you can't verify, if business want to accept money, they have to verify. All they care about is if they receive the money or not. But if they're not able to see where the address, if they're not able to see the amounts or the addresses, then it will be very fishy. Because once again, man, these companies and merchants, they have to follow rules of the country, of the government, so they have law. And if they don't respect the law, they will get in trouble. So I don't believe that if these people, if these merchants and companies know that they will get in trouble of law, you know, they will not accept it. And that's what basically will happen if these anonymous cryptocurrencies will be allowed. And once again, it's very clear to me now, but back then, before June, before I started to research a little bit more, I was completely into anonymous cryptocurrencies. But once again, now I know that it can't work. There is no way, man. There is no way. And what happened since last year is, in South Korea, yeah, some privacy coins, they were removed from exchanges like Dash, Monero. Let's see if I find the other one. What was the other one? It's not a very well known or reasonably well known, but I can't remember. But basically, these were the ones. Dash has anonymous features in it. Monero is completely anonymous, and then you have still a couple of them. Like I said, Verge wasn't affected by that. Verge wasn't affected by that, and the reason is because they have a public ledger. That's the only thing that is saving them in that regards. If they're a good, if they're a good coin, if they're a good crypto, well, the bottom line is they did a lot of coding because they had a lot of problems. They had to 51% attacks, to my knowledge. But the thing is, they worked on the protocol. They changed it. They already changed the protocol about 3 times. So they didn't implement anything. You know, Verge has 1 megabyte block size. Sure, it has 30-second transactions going on, but yeah, I don't see anything that can be built on Verge, and it will not be able to do that. Eventually, they want to look into tokens as well, into tokenization. but which they can implement. But then, if they do, if they want to do that, yeah, they will get into problems, because once again they will need to change the protocol, because after they implement, if they decide to go that route, they will implement tokenization in XVG, and then they will realize that they will have to limit the block sizes, because although they may build a protocol, a tokenization protocol on top of XVG, you still need to scale the block sizes, despite of using gas or whatever kind of model they want to implement, like Ethereum and EOS does. Um, they will have to make changes on the protocol itself. So uh, for that reason alone, it's already a failure, because they already messed around with the XVG protocol about 3 times, and eventually they will have to move it again, because they still are considering proof of stake. So they already made three. They may already make five protocol changes, and that's the problem here, because the rules continue to change from time to time, and nobody can build and nobody can do anything if the rules are changing all the time. It doesn't matter if the rules change in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 or 4 years. If the rules continue to change, nobody will be able to do anything useful, because once again, if the rules are thrown away, they have to come up with new rules, and then everybody else has to figure out. Yeah, yeah. So, like I said, that's here talking about economic models. It's not economic, because the bottom line is, it's like I said on the tweet before. You will not invest. Let's say you're a company and you're in the United States and you want to invest in Portugal. It's the country that I live in, and of course you will not be willing to invest in my country, building a company in here, if the tax system changes every 4 years or every 2 years, because you never know what to count on. Because now you have let's say now you have fair taxation, and in about 2 years they tax you more. So it's like I said, people don't want to understand or don't want to take a look at the economic systems, but people have to take a look at economic systems, because without a workable and a viable economic system, everything falls apart. And people in the crypto space, they really have to take their moon hats off and start to realize that it's not all kumbaya, and we have to follow some rules for everything to work. Because if we don't follow rules, we have anarchy, you know. And anarchy doesn't work because there are no rules. That's actually the only reason why anarchy doesn't work. Because once again, the main problem with anarchy uh, is the lack of law, because we need law. It doesn't matter if we agree. Unfortunately, we have nowadays the governments write the law, but it doesn't need to be like this. We can have fair laws, but it doesn't matter if it is fair. If we live in a corrupt system like we live nowadays, law is necessary. The problem is the kinds of laws that we have in our countries. These are the problems, because someone writes these laws, and these people that generally write these laws, they're not honorable. They only see profit, and that's why we have the shit that we have in our countries and in all around the world. But the reality is that law can be fair. It just has to follow some set of rules. That is necessary. That we can't work around. Because if we don't have a set of rules, then we will allow for people to commit crimes, every kinds of crimes, and they will never be punished. And that is not a reason. That's not reasonable. We can't have a society without law. We need law in our society. If we can have better laws and fair laws, of course we can. It just depends. The only thing that we have to do is to figure out the people, to understand the people that are writing the laws. Because if we want fair laws, we have to be part of writing these laws. It's not just couple of lawyers and politicians and whatever to do whatever they want. We can write fair laws. We just have to find a consensus and and to understand the benefits and the wrongdoings about that law and try to make it as fair as possible. Of course, sometimes there is no compromise. Sometimes we just have to 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 choose the middle ground. But it's like I said, we can all do this, but without it, it's game over, man. We can't have such a thing because, like I said, who will be enforcing the law in a lawless country or in an anarchist country? Who will be enforcing the laws? Who will you pay? Will you have like private cops? They will only follow the interest who is paying them. You know, basically what we have right now. So that is not workable, man. So yeah, that's my opinion. It's already 40 minutes and 55 seconds that I've been talking about it, but I believe that I provide a little bit of information about it. But like I said, guys, if you want to understand, if you want to figure out everything or a little bit of what I was talking about, Craig Wright is a great teacher, man. He really is. If you're willing to hear him, he's a great teacher. He talks about a lot of stuff, and he talks about this, and I didn't understand it uh, before, but now I do because it's just the way it is. We have to have a set of rules that we can rely on because, like that, we can enforce the protocol. We can enforce the protocol, the Bitcoin protocol. Because basically, miners are created to enforce the law because they have an economic incentive to mine the blocks. They want to be profitable, so they will sniff out all the network and try to find the wrongdoers. And when the wrongdoer is found, an orphan block is made because they understand. They see, hey, this motherfucker didn't follow the rules, so we're going to dismiss this block and we start over again. And that's what happens. Miners are there to enforce the rules. That's what they need to do. And they have an economic incentive to do that. And they will do that because they want to make money. They don't want to lose money. Because besides that, they can implement more services like data centers, you know, something that I don't believe exists yet in the blockchain ecosystem, but that's what will happen because we need a lot from the miners because we expect the miners to scale and they will give us services. They will provide they will provide with they will provide us a lot of services because once again without the miners we can't do it because it's a proof of work concept, proof of stake concept for everything that I've been reading and what Craig is actually talking about. It's not very viable, but I don't know too much about it, so I will not make a statement or opinion. That's the reality of it. We need proof of work. But then, yeah, then the other, the environmentalists come out. Oh yeah, we have to save the planet, and we need to migrate to proof of stake, and this and that. Come on, guys. Uh, to be quite honest, I don't believe in that crap. This emergency, this emergency about our climate. You know, in the 70s, it was all about global cooling, and then it was the ozone layer, the hole, the ozone layer hole, and now we have global warming. You know, so what happened to the global cooling? We never had that. The ozone layer, well, it doesn't look like it messed up a lot because we're all still alive. Sure, we have cancer problems, but not as severe as they wanted to paint it. So now we have global warming, guys. No, that's my comment about it. So you can make your own opinions and you can study a little bit about it. I'm just stating you what was released throughout the years about this. And I don't believe that it is as grave as they painted the reality is we will always have oscillations in our weather. It's always like this. Besides of the weather warfare that is actually going on and documented by the United States as well, that they have been messing around with the weather since the 50s. That's a reality that many people don't know as well. I'm not going to too much deep about it because it's completely the opposite of what I'm talking about. I just wanted to wrap this thing up. And yeah, I know 45 minutes is a long time, but sometimes you need videos like this, and you need some content, especially for the people that actually want to learn or want to understand something. Because, like I said in my tweets, I'm not much of a teacher, but I like to talk about stuff. And if you find my stuff actually interesting, if you want to research, just go back to all of Craig Wright's writings. Yes, yeah, Craig Wright actually wrote a lot as well. Go to the white paper, go to the Bitcoin Talk forums where Satoshi actually talked to people and explained a lot of stuff. Go to his videos before he claimed he was Satoshi, and even before that. There's a lot of information out there, guys. So it's up to you if you want to understand or not. But yeah, that's up to you to decide. So I'm the coin, and I'm out.